to connect and have such a deep connection with someone who has such traumas, because they're so like opened in a way, and there's something so sexual about like just a guy who has like mommy or daddy issues, or just like really has a lot of red flags. And I'm gonna be open about it. I'm gonna say that normally those guys fuck the best. It's just a more intense connection. And then when you go from that to having to date someone who, you know, parents are still together,
boring,
family values, everything is great, it's harder for you to see like love as that. If it's like normal and everything's working smoothly, it's harder for you to connect the same way, because you've just been so programmed to like the toxic almost, that like it almost becomes like, it's almost like the guy you should end up with is probably not the guy you'll have the best sex with. Does that make sense?
You're listening to the X Podcast. The X you keep coming back to.
Hey guys, welcome back to the X Podcast. I'm your girl Alessia, every single Monday. Let me just remind you before I start this episode, if you haven't yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. If you don't have time to watch the full episode but still want to have your dose of Alessia, then you can also find me on Snapchat and subscribe to my channel. I put the best scenes. What's up, guys? I'm sick. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm not really someone who gets sick regularly, I would say, but this cold has been lingering for over a week now. I'm excited for it to leave. I feel like you guys, I get so many comments talking about how my voice is shitty. Well, I can't imagine what it sounds like now. Now I probably sound even worse. I didn't really have a direction of how I wanted to go about this episode. I feel like there has been some things that, I don't know, I've been feeling lately, and I thought I can talk about. I am currently on a very strict diet. Like, I don't think in my life I've ever been on such a strict diet. If you're feeling shitty about your life and you feel like somebody has something better than you, just remember that we all have our shtick. We all have something we're dealing with. You know, it's so easy to say like nobody's perfect, but truthfully, everyone has their thing. And I think that alone should give you so much ease and peace. Not that we should feel better because other people are going through it, but like we can connect through it and we can feel less alone. My entire life, I never struggled with weight. That was never an issue for me. My issue happened to be eczema, like a skin problem. And it's very uncomfortable. If you've watched an episode with my mother before, you know that like I've been brought up very healthy. Like my mom was the type of mom where instead of rice, I was getting cauliflower mashed and it was looking like rice, but it wasn't actually rice. Like my mom was very healthy. So I'm super fortunate to have a mom who's like taught me so much with nutrition. And even at that, you know, I'm traveling, I'm moving around. It's very hard to keep a strict diet and to take care of yourself. And I think sometimes I even forget that beyond anything we should wish for, money, success, is really truthfully health, okay? Without our health, we cannot have any of these things. And obviously being around, you know, even Becca who has cancer, I'm very aware that, especially this year, that it's very important to take care of your health. And with that being said, let me introduce you Joy Mode. This episode is sponsored by Joy Mode. We all know there's nothing worse than hooking up with a guy who can't get his willy up. Yeah, you heard me. And we're all about natural here. Okay, minus my nose, minus my lips, minus a couple things. But we're all about natural here. And forget about the over-the-counter pills. You open it up. Whenever you know you're feeling like you might get lucky, you open this packet, you put it in some water, you shake it, and you drink it 45 minutes to 5 hours before you might get lucky, okay? It's most effective 2 hours before, but listen, if you're going on a date, pop it before your date, and have an amazing evening. Joy Mode helps with blood flow, erection, and supports sexual wellness. You can use this product daily to help with support if you are athletic and you're working out, for your blood pressure. It's already so hard as it is dating and, sleeping with someone. So why don't we just make it a little bit easier with Joy Mode? If you're not going to do it for your willy and your health, then at least do it for your lady. Use my discount code @podcast at checkout to receive 20% off your entire order. So I would say this last year, I've had eczema, but not strongly, like a little bit. And like obviously in the winter, it gets a little bit worse, but always manageable. And I never had it on my face. It was more just like in the creases of like my arms or like behind my legs. And it was very controllable. I had a cortisone cream that I would just put on and then it would kind of like go away. But over this last year, I would say I struggled the most. And this is something I never really talk about because we don't talk about things that we're normally are going shit. Like on Instagram, we only post the things that are going well for us. We don't post the things that, are normally like shitty and we're dealing with that are very hard. And this last year, my skin with my face, never had issues with my face, suddenly just inflamed and became really patchy, and it felt like psoriasis. A little bit over a year ago, I was taking sun and then I go down from tanning and I go to my hotel room and I'm like kind of looking at my chest and it's getting very bubbly. And then I start peeling and I'm like, oh, okay, it's because I took too much sun. That must be the reason why I'm peeling and like it's bubbly. Let me just put a little bit of my cortisone cream and it's going to go away. And I did that and it wasn't really going away, but it was manageable. And then I was in Miami. Like I was just like traveling a lot. And also like when your skin is bad and then you're traveling a lot, it doesn't help the situation. I went to see a dermatologist and he looked at me and he said, "Are you stressed right now?" And I feel like that's such a hard question to ask someone because like, yeah, I guess I'm stressed, but I'm also not. It's like, I feel like what's really scary about the human body is that we can feel like we're stressed. Like we can be okay and still technically be stressed. Does that make sense? Like I can say I'm good and not know that I'm more stressed than I am and it's taking a toll on my body, but I'm not like fully aware. So it's really hard to manage when you think your stress levels are down, but are they really? But then it's like, are you meditating? Are you breathing properly? And these are all things that over the year I really started to inform myself on and really learn. It's weird because it was coming and it was going, but I was like, it was always that same kind of like peeling and something like I've had eczema my whole life. It didn't feel like eczema, but now the dermatologist is telling me I'm just stressed and that's what it is. So I'm taking his word for it. He prescribes me a higher cortisone cream, which cortisone is technically like a steroid. So it's not something you should really be fucking around with or putting on your face. But I'm in crisis mode. I'm like, I film a podcast. I'm on camera. Like I can't, like, I feel like it makes everything that much more difficult, I guess. And it was really something I was battling and it was making me very depressed. And, when you're depressed, you're sad and you just don't want to do anything. You don't want to see anyone. And it became kind of just like such a tough battle with Alessia, like live your life. Like everyone has their things and feeling like, well, no, like I'm also valid for like feeling this way. And it didn't feel great. And it really like destroyed my self-confidence. And then also being someone who has to be on video, like putting that extra pressure. And then it's like, are you stressed? Well, it's like, yeah, I'm stressed because now I'm dealing with, it feels like psoriasis on my face. So yeah, I mean, I'm not stressed, but now I am stressed. And it's like, everything is kind of linked, right? How are you not supposed to be stressed when you're dealing with that? And it's like, you gotta, it's such a vicious circle, right? Because it's like everything is kind of linked. So I basically like came to terms with like, this is what it is. And I was kind of just like dealing with it. And, it was really affecting my mood for sure. And basically the type of skin issue it was like if I would shower and like remove all the dead skin, it's like I'd be good to film and be good for the day. And then it's like I would go to bed and then it would restart. And it just felt like my skin was always peeling and it was just like red. It didn't feel like eczema where it was like, oh, I had kind of like buttons all over my face. Like it wasn't like that. And I was just honestly fed up. I was recently in Florida with my mom and dad, and it was like I thought, okay, let me go to Florida. Like maybe the sun will make it better. And it was making it so much worse. And I remember my first couple of days, I literally did not want to leave the condo. I was just like really, really sad. And my mom's like, okay, let's go. We're going to the hospital. So she takes me to the hospital in Florida and she looks at my skin. She goes, is your diet, like, did you change anything in your diet? Like, have you been using a new soap? And it's like, it's so annoying and frustrating to be like there and like saying, no, 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 because you've been to a dermatologist back here. Like, you've done your things, like you've seen people for it. I feel like you go see a dermatologist and like they just like fix the problem, but temporarily. They're not like, oh, like let's get to the root of this. They're like, here, put this cream, it should help. No, like a steroid cream, technically, like it's gonna come back once you stop using it. And I'm like, I'm determined to figure out the solution to stop using steroid and to figure out how to live a life without this. I can't get rid of it like 100%, but I can definitely like maintain a lifestyle where 95% of it is gone through changing certain things in my life. So after going to the hospital in Florida, they prescribed me not a cortisone cream because she said the cream's not working for you anymore. Here is a cortisone pill. You're going to take this for 5 days. And every part of me inside was like, I don't feel like I should do this, because what's scary about a cortisone pill is that, yeah, it might fix the problem temporarily, but I'm just numbing all the issues that are going to come back and stronger. But I was like, you know what? Let me listen to this doctor. Let me take the cortisone pill. So I take the cortisone pill. When I tell you guys 3 hours later, instantly, I'm like back to my normal self. The confidence I felt, the happiness I felt, it really made me understand, because I think when you're battling with something for almost a year and then you go back to how you were before that, you forgot how depressed you were about it. And I know, like, I don't even want to bring up the word depressed, but it really took a toll on my life. And when I saw like the difference of me on the pill, I remember, like, if you guys follow me on Instagram, like I was taking videos, I was talking about like dating stories. I was so happy. And everyone was like, what the hell is wrong with Alessia? Like, why is she so like hyper? Well, it's like the pill did that. It made me super hyper. It made me confident. In the back of my head, I'm like, oh my God, what is going to happen when I get off the pill? Funny you ask. So I get off the pill. And this is coming to like my last day of being in Florida. So now I get back home. Now I'm getting on a flight, and that's also not good for your skin. I'm getting off the cortisone pill, and I break out like insanely. Like I literally look like a reptile. I can't even move my neck. I'm waking up and like my neck literally, like, imagine it being so dry that you can't even sleep properly. So it's like, yeah, I'm stressed. I'm not sleeping properly, which is also not healthy for me. And I'm dealing with this like enormous pain on my neck mostly, and a little bit on my face. And I'm just like, Alessia, this is enough. It's almost like it took me having to go through the cortisone pill to remember what it was like life outside of having this situation, and then realizing, okay, I cannot live like this. I need to figure out a solution. So 2 months before that, because I was making a bunch of appointments, I went to see a naturopath, and she looked at me right away and she was like, are you consuming a lot of dairy? And I'm like, you know what? Like in this last year, I would say I started eating a lot more cheeses. I used to never eat cheese, and I just started having coffee and milk, and I started consuming a lot more dairy products. And she basically looked at me and she's like, your problem is dairy. And at that point, when you're so fed up of like living like this, yeah, every part of me is like, oh my God, am I going to be that girl who's going to have to be like gluten-free, dairy-free? Like, I don't want to be that girl. I don't want that. Like, but when you're dealing with such pain, you're like, I am ready to change my entire life around to fix this situation. It just becomes like you don't care anymore about it. I'll literally give up anything. Like, I can't live like this anymore, So the naturopath basically gave me a strict diet, which I have been on for almost 2 weeks. And I do see improvement. I don't see 100% improvement, but I am battling the natural way now. And I think my mom has always kind of tried to tell me that, sweetie, anything in life that you're dealing with, internal, can always be solved by food. And I never believed her. I was always like, okay, mom, like, yeah, like, no. And, you can't, like, I was born, it's in my genes to have eczema. Okay, great. But, like, also what I do and what I consume in a day will also affect the levels that it's going to be at, right? So I went to see a naturopath and I'm feeling a lot more confident that we're going to get to the root of this. She's like, I've dealt with this for 45 years. You walked in here and I looked at your skin and I know it's dairy. So you're going to cut dairy, gluten. You can't have raw vegetables. You can't have anything dark like kale, spinach. You cannot. So basically, right now, as of right now, I've been just juicing. I've been on my wellness journey. So just juicing, doing exactly as they say. I've cut out so much out of my diet, and it's definitely been a challenge, guys. It's one thing to diet. I've dieted before, and I do know how to live a natural lifestyle, but it almost feels as if like someone went from regular to vegan. What we're working on right now is really just fixing my inside gut, and I didn't know that skin was a third kidney, and right now I'm just reacting because something's going on in there. And now I'm doing a 30-day cleanse, and I think I might even like extend it, but I'm doing a 30-day cleanse where I just took out everything out of my diet and I'm just focusing on vegetables, meat, not every type of meat, and fish. And I'm just like cleansing out my body, and just to feel already in 2 weeks, just a little bit of the difference in my skin makes me think our bodies are so dependent on what we eat, and whatever you might be dealing with, I'm not saying it's 100% solvable, but what we eat is so important and affects everything about us. It affects our mental health. It affects just everything, every part of everything. And, we want everything in life, but what we have to remember is that we have to live a life where we're like kind of semi-living healthy so that we're able to, like, we're in this bitch every single day. So it's really important to like feed it good foods and good nutrients in order to keep ourselves happy, in order to keep ourselves fit. It just is it's a game changer. And I feel like this has really been so eye-opening for me. And I'm here cooking, and I'm just like, I'm at the level where I'm just like enjoying it now. I feel better. I'm happier with what I put in my body. I feel the difference. I know it's going to work. Like, I know this is what's going to kill it. And then the naturopath told me after a month, we'll start reintroducing things because your system is so weak right now. It's not able to handle a piece of bread. It's not able to handle, milk, yogurt, all these kind of things. So that's pretty much where we're at. So at least knowing that I don't have to give it up 100%, but it's just right now where I'm at. That's the situation. And look, I'm going to reintroduce foods after the month slowly. And I'm not going to lie, like, I'm scared. I'm like, I'm not doing this 30 days super strict to get back into just like drink some milk and it's like going to come back extreme. But I think at the end of the day, you can do as many allergy tests and everything to try and figure out what it is. You are the master of your own body. So like, I'm basically going to be the test of my own body to see what's triggering. So after this 30 days where I'm super clean, I'm going to try introducing foods and see what is really the issue. Even though I do think it has to do with dairy. And right now we're being strict. So I feel like I'm at my clarity levels right now are super, super high. With all that being said, I want to talk about the power of saying no, because I think we don't realize how powerful that is. I've, in my early 20s, really struggled with that, whether it be a diet you want to start, whether it be a business you want to start, a hobby, something you set for yourself and then didn't follow through with because you weren't able to say no, and how it affects you. I know it sounds like so simple and so easy, but I feel like that tests us every single day. let's say, for example, you scheduled something to do for yourself, but then somebody calls you, a friend, and they're like, hey, let's hang out. Suddenly, what you had scheduled for yourself, you don't follow through on it. You end up, canceling it, thinking that, okay, I'm just going to like ignore that and then go back to it. It's fine. And then hang out with a friend. But truthfully, you're not happy hanging out with a friend because you went against what you had set for yourself. So you're chilling with your friend, but you're angry for chilling with your friend because you know that you had something set for yourself. So that makes you mad at yourself. You start to feel insecure because you cannot even trust yourself because you're going against things you wanted for yourself. So therefore, when you're insecure, then you suddenly start to like not trust people because you don't even have faith in yourself.
No, it's okay. You look so good.
I'm gonna give you a mic.
Okay.
Why not? My girlfriend just showed up.
Hello.
She is a character you guys have not met yet, but she is actually moving like literally very close to the podcast studio. So she came to see me. So I gave her a mic. I was like, at any point, if she wants to say anything, she can. And she's filming me right now, guys. Like as if 3 cameras weren't enough. Now I have her iPhone filming me. When we continuously do that, we lose trust in ourselves. We become insecure. And then it's very hard for us to trust other people because we do not trust ourselves. So it's the same thing with, let's say, a cheater. When someone cheats all the time, for sure they're going to think, oh, my partner's cheating because that's what they've been programmed. So we see people through the lens we are. If we're not able to commit, if we're not able to do our diet, if we're not able to be loyal, if we're not able to follow through on the things we wanted to do for ourselves, start a business, then it's very hard for us to trust other people because we do not have the trust in ourselves. So there's a couple random things that I'd like to talk about, and I figured like I'll just put it all in one and make it an episode. But could we talk about Van Cleef bracelets on men? Have you seen them?
Oh my God. I can't.
It's really hard for me to even talk about this because the guy I'm talking to, he's wearing one. And not only on his wrist, but on his neck. He's wearing one on his neck. And I hope he doesn't see this. So this is the thing. You're never going to find the perfect guy, right? You're going to find maybe 80% of what you want, but like there's always going to be things that you're like, ugh, okay? And this is absolutely one, like dressing someone is absolutely fixable. And a Van Cleef bracelet is easily removable. It's just if he doesn't want to remove it, what do we do?
Trust me, he'll remove it for you.
You think?
Yeah.
He seems like that type
Yeah,
of guy.
yeah.
It's like find you a guy who like listens to you, but then also find you a man who like
Knows what he
knows
wants
what
and
he
who
wants
he
and
is.
doesn't give a fuck. It's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah, but the Van Cleef gotta go.
The Van Cleef absolutely has to go. You know what it is? I think some guys suit the Van Cleef bracelet. Like it really depends you and your style. But for the most part, I think it's a little bit of an ick. Look, I think if you're super lean and like you have this like artistic vibe to you, I think if you're wearing more than one, because one just looks like a dangled bracelet. Honestly, like 2 is better, I think, on a man than 1, believe it or not. And because a dangled bracelet kind of gives off like feminine vibes, I think that's where the ick comes from, like seeing a Van Cleef on a guy. Actually, my ex posted a fucking picture maybe a couple months ago, and I was like, yo, he has 2 on his wrist. Like,
Let me check.
But I think it depends. Like, I don't think it's as bad on my ex as it is on the guy I'm talking to. Because let me explain. When you're like such a man, okay, and you're like 6'1" and like you already have like all the watches and like, why do you need that dangled bracelet? You're a man. Why are you wearing such a feminine dangly bracelet? If you're like a little more scrawny, I feel like it suits you more. Like you could pull it off. But I feel like certain guys, it's like, you're a man. What are you doing with a dangled Van Cleef bracelet on you? I think some people like, what's that guy on Instagram that always posts videos that always comes through? E-Man. Like there's a guy who always posts YouTube videos. E-Man. He he pulls it off. He wears 2, he pulls it off. But like, I feel like certain people don't. And I think the more masculine you are and like you have muscle and you're like tall and like you're a man, like, I don't know. I feel like it's very cringe. I don't know. I think everything is just, it depends, but it's a bit of an ick, honestly. And he has the necklace also. So I'm like, Jesus, the bracelet wasn't enough. You have the necklace too? Like, I don't know what about it. Like, just give it to me. I'll wear it. Like, you don't need to wear this. You just need to wear a nice manly watch. That's it. You agree?
I do. Sorry, I wasn't even listening.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're searching?
Yeah, but I agree for your ex. I think it's okay. Yeah.
Should I get back with my ex?
No.
He kind of makes it work. The new guy I'm talking to is going to be like, so get back with your ex, bro. Get back with your ex. No, never. Never. So yeah, I just wanted to shed some light on Van Cleefs and why I think they're a little bit of a dick. When I had went to Miami, there was a guy I was talking to from New York. I feel like I always say stories like this. They're like, how many guys are you talking to? But when I was in Miami, okay, do you guys remember the guy I had met in Tulum, okay? That was already like a little bit of a red flag. We spoke about it.
Big red flag. I met him, by the way, so.
But was he not the hottest guy you've ever seen?
Fuck.
I ended up going on a date with a guy from New York who happened to be in Miami.
Mr. Red Flags.
Mr. Red Flags. We had met him in Tulum. You were with me.
Yeah.
And so just to emphasize, so we spoke about him actually on the podcast when I did my Tulum episode where I met him and I was like, wow, he's so hot. But then he was like so intense and I was just like, okay. But then I also like took accountability where I thought maybe I went wrong. And now just looking back, it's like, Ale, just look at the flags when they're right in front of your face. They were literally waving. Like, I want to say from here to Toronto, their flag was just waving. And I'm like...
From here to Tulum.
Literally. From here to Tulum, the flag was waving. And I was like, let's go to Miami. So basically... whatever, we had ended up fixing that little issue we had. Why is there issues at the beginning? We're just getting to know each other. It should be rainbows and butterflies, but it wasn't. And I'm not going to go over that because I spoke about it. He's like, I really want to see you. And I told him like what my schedule was. And I was like, I'll be in Florida this date. And he said, okay, perfect. Like, so he said, I'll come. So now I'm like, okay, so I'm going to Florida and he's from New York and he's going to come down and we're going to see each other again. That's cool. And so, naturally I'm thinking, well, he's technically coming for me. I mean, any girl would think that if like I tell you come to Miami and you're like, okay, like I'll see if I can make it work. And then you end up coming. I'm like, okay, you're coming to obviously like spend time with me and to see what this is, okay, essentially, because we met in Tulum and like we obviously vibed besides the red flag. So
and he's the one who said that he was largely going for you.
Oh, right. Yeah. He basically said like, I just want to make sure like, what's your plan this week? Because I'm largely coming to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for that. And just so nobody knows, I fucking make shit up. And yeah, so I get there and then he arrives like the day after or like the same day as me. We arrive the same day and he's like, what's your plan for the week? Like, obviously I want to see you. Like, how much time do you have to spend with your parents? Blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm kind of just like, oh, like it's like whenever really. Like I didn't leave the door completely open, but I said like, look, I just arrived. Like, give me my day. Give me 2 days to just like settle in and like spend some time. And like, I'd love to see you like, a couple days in. So a couple days in, we go for dinner and we go for drinks and we're really vibing. It's really heated. We've already seen each other a couple times in Tulum. So this was like another time we're seeing each other. Now it's in Miami. And I'm like at this stage where I'm kind of like, no, we're going to talk about the fight we have. I know we solved it, but we're going to talk about it. I'm not going to like, I'm not going to ignore the fact that like we almost like had a fault. We almost like, you unfollowed me and then refollowed me. Like, we're going to talk about it. So I'm just so direct now, I think. And I was like, I mentioned it. I was like, so like, you called me surface level. Like, should we talk about that? And I'm like, I really took offense to that because I feel like no one ever meets me and calls me surface level. If anything, the complete opposite. So I was just like, why would you say that? And he's like, oh, like, I thought we like squashed that. I'm like, well, we did, but I'm just curious, like, why you thought that. He's like, I guess when I just get angry, like, I just kind of spew out anything.
Red flag.
I just spew out anything. And like I just, like I kind of just like, I said things because I was angry at the moment and I just felt like we really hit it off. And then what you said to me just kind of like threw me off and it just felt like it was very one-sided. I was like, no, I did feel the same way. For me, it's like, okay, like I just met you, like my guard's a little bit up, like, but just like the surface level just really didn't sit well with me. So don't ever say that again, I said to him. And he was like, haha, whatever. So we laugh it off. Everything's good. We had an amazing night and we ended up sleeping together. Should I say that part? No?
No. Well, it depends where you want to go with your story. Like, are you trying to like tell after like the aftermath, like the next day?
That's it. Like, I need to explain
or
it.
you
so
want
I
to
need
talk
to.
about like more you met him on a date the very next day. Do you know what I mean?
No, I think I'll just leave it out what it is.
Okay, sure.
So at this point, okay, whatever. So first off, okay, a guy who's into crypto, red flag. A guy who likes psychedelics, drugs, red flag.
Big red flag.
Big red flag. Like, what are we dealing with here? Like, what are the traumas? What are the things you think you're escaping your life from that you think you're going to get outside of it? Like, no.
And you're not a drug person, which is crazy.
I'm not a drug girl, and I just feel like I've tried every type of guy. Like, I've tried the guy who does drugs, and it's not for me. And, like, with him, he was just kind of like, no, I don't do it often, only at a festival. And I'm like, Ale, you're not that girl who even goes to festivals, nor do you do drugs. So, like, let's stop entertaining things that are not for us. So that was a weak moment for me, honestly, because, like, 100%, like, it's never going to work. Like, truthfully, I don't want a guy who does drugs. I don't.
Except mushrooms.
Chocolate mushrooms, microdosing. Anyway, guys, after dinner, we go for drinks, we go to Socialista. The night is amazing. And then we go to he rented an Airbnb in Brickell. And the whole place he rented, guys. I honestly took a video and I think I might add it in just so you guys know I'm not fucking with you. Literally mushroom, like candle, and like the place he decided to rent was a psychedelic fucking room. Like did I ever tell you this?
You never told
I
me
never
that.
told you this.
No.
The entire apartment was filled. It just felt like you were floating. It literally looked like it was filled with like, how do you explain? Like just like the lamp was a mushroom and like everything. There's like an aquarium and it's just giving very like a druggie would rent this place. Not that it's ugly, like it's super nice and like the things inside are expensive, but like the vibe inside, like he wanted that. Like he didn't want to rent a clean, nice Airbnb. Like he wanted the place that just was like artsy and like just had like the mushroom everywhere and like
basically
the lights
to get
and, like,
fucked up.
glowing lights and like it just was like, oh my god, like I say I don't want a guy with drugs who does drugs and like I'm here like in the middle of a trap house. It felt like nicely decorated, everything like you could tell expensive pieces and like it's not just somebody who started doing psychedelics and like threw in a bunch of pieces. Like you knew the apartment was like worked on. Like throughout the years, she added pieces. The person who owned it. Anyway, so I'm just here in this place and I'm like, oh my god, like I don't do any drugs and I'm literally in a freaking psychedelic Airbnb, like insane. And he's like, look how cool this is and look how good. I'm just like, oh my god. But you know what it is? I feel like sometimes it's so easy to connect and have such a deep connection with someone who has such traumas because they're so like opened in a way, and there's something so sexual about like just a guy who has like mommy or daddy issues, or just like really has a lot of red flags. And I'm gonna be open about it. I'm gonna say that normally those guys fuck the best. It's just a more intense connection. Okay, that's the word. Okay, it's just a more intense connection because everything feels so deep, and like you just suddenly feel like you've been like kind of just like brainwashed in a way. Even though like I'm a strong character and like I know that this is not it, like you just it feels like such a deep connection. So obviously romantically, when you're physical with someone who's has that, like, it's such a deep connection, sex is amazing, right? Because it's like it's so, how do you, like, it's so deep. How do you like
Intense, yeah.
It's so intense and so deep that the sex just feels so intense and deep, and
Everything is more intense.
everything is more intense. And then when you go from that to having to date someone who, parents are still together, family
Boring.
values, everything is great, it's harder for you to see like love as that. If it's like normal and everything's working smoothly, it's harder for you to connect the same way because you've just been so programmed to like the toxic almost, that like it almost becomes like, it's almost like the guy you should end up with is probably not the guy you'll have the best sex with. Does that make sense? So yes.
Yes. I
So
don't
almost
agree,
like-
but yes.
And like, I always say this quote, it's like there's a lot of people that you'll love in your life, but there's not a lot of people that you'll make a life with. And I think it's really being able to distinguish that just because you have this deep connection with this toxic person that has so many traumas and so many things they're battling doesn't mean that it's a person you need to end up with just because sex is amazing and because you feel like your stomach, like there's such good, there's like butterflies, like, in the end, like, you should be with someone who doesn't really give you the butterflies in a way and kind of makes you feel stable and like seen and like make you feel heard and safe. That's what you want to go for. Not a guy who's going to be like this and you're like, butterflies. No, like that's not healthy. And I'm really realizing that over this year. Anyway, so back to the guy. So we have this intense, passionate, like, we've met already. We've had this build up. So now we see each other in Miami. The night goes amazing. Just romantically, it was like absolutely amazing. And like, I could say like sex was amazing for me, but like truthfully, like when you feel like it's really good, normally it's like, it's a shared thing, Like, you just feel like when you feel it's so good for you, it's gotta feel the same way for them. Does that make sense?
I agree.
So then whatever. So then the next day, I'm like, oh, what's the vibes now? Like, he's like, let's go like get, brunch. So whatever, we're getting brunch. He's like, let me know what you do later. I have dinner with like his friend who lives in Miami. I'm like, yeah. So he does his own thing that night. I leave after brunch and he's still like messaging me. We're still chatting and stuff. And a couple days later, the day after, I go out with my literal, like I know we say like guy friend, that's such a red flag, but like one of my guy friends I know here that like literally has hooked up with all my friends except for me, and like it's never going to happen, and he knows that, like, it's never going to happen. And maybe I shouldn't say hooked up with all my friends, just like a friend that like we've been friends forever, and like he knows it's just there's never gonna be anything romantically. Like, I'm not here being delusional. Like, if I wanted to fuck, we would have sex. It's just like it's never gonna happen. We're just friends, and that's how I see him. And so he picks me up, and we go to Socialista. Okay. After seeing him, I was kind of like, Ale, like I know you had like such an amazing kind of like chemistry and stuff, but you have to think like this person isn't for you for the long term. And like I was almost like, I like this guy so much and we have such a deep connection that I was like, God, give me a sign. I remember being like in my room and being like, God, give me a sign that like, because I don't think I'm strong enough to like let this go just because like he does drugs, which is fucked up. I was like, God, give me a sign. And one of my guy best friends picks me up, and we've been friends forever. It's never been anything sexual. Like, we're just both in Miami at the same time. I'm like, let's go out. Like, let's do something. So he's like, great. So he picks me up and we go to Socialista. And as we're walking to Socialista, hence, like, I'm walking with a guy, but this is like my guy best friend. Like, there's nothing sexual going on, okay? And like, he's not the hottest guy. So like, I'm walking, okay, with him, and Miami's huge. I'm not like expecting to bump into anyone when, like, you know, I'm there. Anyway, I'm walking with, we're walking into Socialista. I see the guy out on a day, walking out of the restaurant, okay, and like kind of like holding her from like guiding her, you know, like a man would, like, you know, like they're leaving the area while I'm like entering Socialista. So it's like Cipriani and then there's Socialista. So he's like leaving the restaurant or Socialista. I'm not even quite sure. It's all foggy to me. And I'm like, wait, isn't that? And so I see him and he's with a blonde girl. And I'm like in shock, okay? Like, I just remember being like, and I just walked to Socialista and I'm like, dirty martini, please. Like, and my friend that I'm with, he's like, why are you freaking out? I'm like, well, I just saw the guy that like we've been chatting and like, you know, we hooked up, just walk out of the restaurant with a girl.
The night before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. Like,
But I'm largely here for you.
and I'm like, my heart, guys, was racing. And I'm telling, you know, this guy, one of my friends who I'm out with, who's like literally sleeps with every girl and like is a fucking player. I'm like, I can't believe what I just saw. He's like, Ale, what do you mean? Like, grow up. Like, that's what happened. Like, it is what it is. And I'm like, I'm so hurt because I'm like, I don't just sleep with just anyone, and like, it's a big deal to me. And like, to see the guy that I'm talking to walking out of dinner with another girl, where you know this is how this is all playing out. Like, he's leaving there, he's kind of doing the same thing he did to me. He's gonna take her back to the place, and they're gonna probably have sex. And I'm here witnessing all this. My heart is like beating out of my chest. I'm like so hurt, and I was like, I get home and I'm like, wait, I said, God, give me a sign. I had said, I swear to God, I said, God, give me a sign. And God literally said, here you go. Here's your sign. Miami's huge. You're going to bump into him the next day while he's out on a date with a girl who's blonde. By the way, when he told me, he literally told me the next day, like, wow, like, sex with you was like so good. Like, our connection is like amazing. We're talking about like what our types are. And he's literally saying like, you're literally my type, like skin complexion, body wise, face, like you're my ideal type. Like, I like brunettes. And to see him on a date with a fucking blonde just made me think men are pieces of shit. They will lie to you. They will tell you everything you want to hear to get in bed with you. And then I'm here feeling like I'm so hurt, guys. Okay. And I'm just like, fuck it. I'm not even going to tell him like I'm hurt. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to ignore him. So I started ignoring a couple of messages he was sending me. And I don't know if he saw me. I know you're probably wondering, like, did he see you? He took a sharp turn. So I think he might have saw me, but I can't guarantee because when I saw him, he already wasn't looking my direction. So he maybe saw me. And I'm also like, fuck, he saw me with this guy. So it's like, what now? Like, I can't even be mad because I'm out here with a guy, but I'm like, it's just my friend. But then he could be like, it's just my friend. Like, it's just like, it's a mess. So he's like writing to me, and then he sends me this thing about like Tulum, like an article, like the next day. After the day he's on a date with the girl, he sends me an article of the fucking girl, and like, maybe I'm a narcissist in the sense where I'm like, well, good luck. You're not going to have more fun with her. You're not going to have a deeper connection. And like, truthfully, maybe he didn't, but also maybe he did. But even though I don't give a shit, it's just the fact that like, I felt so played. And anyway, it was just intense. And then he's like writing to me, sending me an article about Tulum. And I literally, guys, I straight up, this is something I would never do. I straight up told him like everything I felt. And this is crazy, but the old me would have never done that, okay? So I wrote to him and I was like, basically told him like, oh, like, I'm like kind of shocked he didn't leave now Miami, but like we had seen each other once, and then like the next day he didn't make plans with me, and then the day after that I bumped into him, okay, with a girl. But he had plans with the friend because he also had friends there, and it was very like we were doing our own thing and we are gonna make time for each other. So maybe him like sending me, messages, he was probably like catching the vibes and was gonna ask me to do something again. But when I saw him with the girl, I like freaked. So I just said like kind of shocked. And I think it's because I set my intentions of like me looking for something serious, and him in Tulum kind of saying like, I don't have time for this bullshit, and really making it seem like he's looking for something serious. So I think I had every right to express how I felt after him launching on me and fucking Tulum for not like spending more time with him and all that stuff. So I basically said, kind of shocked we saw each other once, to be honest, answering his other things, okay? Answering his other messages. He goes, oh, honestly, I didn't realize it was an option. I thought you had to spend time with your family. Like, what a cop out. When a guy wants to, he will. He'll say, when are you not with your family so I can take you out? They make time for what they want. So I'm like, these excuses, like, I'm not a naive bitch. I'm just like, I'm not even here for the excuse. I just want to let you know what I saw. So I was just like, he said, oh, I honestly didn't realize it was an option. I thought you had to spend time with your family. I mean, over the weekend, I've had 3 work meetings spread out, so not sure I could have done much more. But still, sorry there was a miscommunication on that. Definitely want to see you again. Guys, he sounds so mature. He's communicating. He says words that you'd hear in therapy. But this guy is so fucked, honestly, manipulative. By the way, the family thing, he also he had just got there said like, what's the deal? Like, do you have to be with your family? And I said, no, like I'll make it work. You know what I mean? Like, so him using that card after I told him like, no, it's not really an issue. Like, it's fine. Like, I always see my family. Like, I'm doing my own thing. I rented a car. Like, I mean, over the weekend, I've had 3 work meetings spread. Anyway, whatever. So he tells me that. And then I'm just like, no, Aless, stand up for yourself. So I'm like, please don't apologize. I think we definitely have good sexual chemistry. But if I'm being honest, I think we are in different stages of life looking for different things. I hold sleeping with someone to a high standard, and to see you the next day out with another girl unintentionally doing the same thing threw me off. Obviously, we don't owe each other anything, but this doesn't align with my needs. I hope you have an amazing rest of the trip, and I'm happy we met. Kill them with kindness.
Well said.
And he's like, oh, God, I'm so sorry you saw that. Honestly, I had just met her as she's his best friend who lives in Miami's blank's friend who just came to dinner with us. They weren't there. It was just them two. Liar. Wasn't anything premeditated. But of course, I can imagine that was off-putting. Sad face.
Ew.
I was like, scene, don't talk to me. Don't look my direction. I'm just like, it really, really hurt me. I think as someone who's looking for something more serious, and I hold sleeping with someone to a higher standard, and like I don't just give it up, and to still be played after like you wait 3 dates, it's like that's what makes me think the rule of like sleeping with someone on a first date, it has nothing to do with that, because like honestly, like it's just like in the end, like what he did it to sleep with me, and that's why he spoke the way he did, and I should have been smart enough to like just catch on to that at the beginning, but like whatever. That's the hard thing about dating. Like someone can do all the actions, put in the work, fly to come see you, and still you can be played, like, and I don't think it's that he didn't have a connection with me, because he did. I think he's just like a guy. I think it's coming from an insecurity. He's lost with his life. He's at that stage where he's trying to fuck as many people. Like, I don't think it's like a me thing. I don't think it's that we didn't have a connection. And like, maybe that's what I'm saying to myself to sleep better at night.
No. 1000%. Trust me.
Like, he's still right. It's not like he completely like, anyway, whatever. So that's kind of that. And then that kind of just made me go through a savage point where I'm just like, fuck, man. And then I was just like, whatever, I'll go for dinner with them, drinks. Like, I'm not even like emotionally like attaching to anyone. I was like, I can't. Like, this is like, I'm hurt. And then it was like, I stopped answering him. So I'm like, I don't know like if he left or not. I'm like, God forbid I bump into him again. Like, oh, it was a mess. But then the last day I met a guy who, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but honestly just made me feel all the other things that he didn't. So like safe, heard, like it just felt like home when I met him, and it was just a different vibe. and we're still talking, and that's Van Cleef guy. So, but yeah, so I feel like I'm looking down a lot. I don't know if it's because you're here and I'm like talking. I'm like not looking at the camera, but yeah, like I think you just have to be very intentional with dating, and like, like, anyway, that's it's in the past now, that story. But and like I could never see it the other way now. Like, it's like, you disrespect me once, like, and it's not like disrespect, like he could do his own thing. It's just like he just gaslit me, like, honestly. And I just like, I don't feel like I'm a dumb girl who doesn't catch on to these things. And this is why I wait so long to sleep with someone, to just see like, and how much will you put out before, if you give up too soon, then it's like, that's why it, you didn't, you didn't get me, because you didn't like put in the energy. And like, he put in everything, the energy and everything. And then it's like, fuck boys. Anyway, so the last day I go on a date, at this point I'm just like, I cleaned the entire place because my parents were gone, and I was like, I'm not cooking in this kitchen, so like, go on Raya, who's gonna take me out on a date. So I go on a date and go for dinner with this guy, and then afterwards I'm not feeling with him, so I go for drinks with another guy. And guys, like, instantly when I met this guy, it was like, I told myself I wouldn't speak about him because I don't want to ruin something before it even becomes anything, but here we are. It was just like instantly like, hey, like, it was like that vibe of like, we just connected. And I don't want to talk too much about the date, but like, just like literally a man, like just the difference between a boy and a man, like just did everything right. Opening my car door, just the way he guides, he leads our conversation. He's so smart. Like, we just like everything we're connecting on. And it's just like something I've literally like never felt. It was more about just like, that's a more of a husband type of guy. I could be completely wrong. I'm just saying, just like his actions, the things he says, like it was a very like
Mature vibes.
That's what it was. It was very mature. It was just different. And, I left there going, of course, I meet the best guy on the day I'm leaving Florida. But you know what? Sometimes the best things, it's better when you walk away, you leave, take a step back, and then you just see and reassess after. So I left and I got back, and I was just like, just a feeling of like, what just happened? I don't know. I've never had that feeling before. I know I talk a lot about like dating and stuff, but I've never had that feeling where I was like, what just happened? Like, why was that so effortlessly easy, and like just felt safe, and like just like the energy, and like even him, he was very direct about how he felt. Like, even like the first time we met, it was just, he met me and he's like, "Oh, you're spicy." I didn't do anything to be spicy. It was just an energy thing, I guess. It was just, the vibe was just immaculate. And then I left, and I didn't feel like, oh my God, I'm leaving, and like butterflies in my stomach. Like, when am I going to see him again? What if now like he's in Miami, he's going to meet another girl? It was like none of that. It was like, wow, like that was so intense, our connection, that like, I'm not worried. Like, I'm like, I feel really good. I'm like very happy we met. I'm happy going home. And like, it was just a feeling where I was like, there's no one better for each other than us.
Oh my God.
Can't wait till I'm like, guys, and he walked in with a blonde chick, and that was it. No, I don't know. It was just different, honestly. Just the way he like, it was so crazy. Like, we were talking, and I was like, oh my God, I would love to. I can't wait till I'm like dating this guy and he comes on my podcast. Like, crazy. Like, just like, oh, his morals, values, like I would never have to worry about someone like this. Like, he is just like, he is, like some boys think they turn into an alpha and they're like a man, and like, he just is a representation of a man. Like, there's a difference, and I really felt that, like whenever a guy says like, oh, I'm an alpha, you're not an alpha, okay? Because a guy who's actually an alpha and who's a man never has to say, I'm an alpha, okay? You just know in their presence, the way they walk, their energy, the way they handle things. Like, if you're saying you're an alpha, you ain't. And that's just it. That's just it. yeah, so just so yeah, we'll see. We're building on that connection, and like just like talks to me the right amount, and you know me, like someone who's like too much, I don't like either. It's just everything just seems very zen and like easy. So we'll see. We will see. Um Look, life takes a million turns, and I can't believe I'm even talking about this, but I don't know. Like it's not like I'm like, and the thing is I'm not like at my phone waiting for him to message me. It's not that. It's like when you feel it so strong that somebody doesn't even need to message you. That they're gonna be like, oh, this girl's delusional. No. I think one thing that he like that I thought was super interesting about him was that he was talking about how he never put focus in girls. He wanted to become the man he wanted to become, financially stable. He wanted everything for himself before he allowed a girl in. So the way he understands and respects women, the way he's taken the time, the way he's like, I know to get the girl I want, I need to become a man. Like you could tell in his upbringing, everything he did in order to like, and he's very open about wanting kids, wanting a family, like wanting that part of his life. Like there's no part of him that's like, I guess when I meet the right girl. It's like, no, he's done everything in his life to feel like he's ready at this point. And I think that's the best time to meet a guy is when they're ready. It's like timing too, you know? So yeah, and he's not much older than me. So I think it's just like a different vibe where I'm like always like, you need to date an older guy. It's like truthfully, like you can date a 40-year-old who's still a fucking baby, and you can date a guy who's 23 and had to mature so fucking early because he had to live on his own or like just like figure out life at an early age. Like I think it just really is dependent on their life. And so we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated with that. I don't want to talk too much about it. I want to keep this close to me, even though I didn't really. But guys, I really hope you liked this episode. It kind of went all over the board, but as usual, when it's an episode of just me, I love you guys. I will see you next Monday. Don't forget to subscribe.